Tim and I shot this Bokator movie together, and every day I had to train with the master. And doing martial arts movies is tough because you got to be fit. You have to train your general martial art and do the choreography for the movies. So it is just a serious workout. And Master and I really bonded during this time too. So it was another time that we got to work together. And that movie, yeah, it was just great filming that. I play an overweight boxer from Brooklyn, an Italian, who comes to Cambodia and gets beaten up by an old man. So he goes back to his boxing coach. He goes, I want you to get me back into shape because I want to get revenge. And when he tells his boxing coach, played by Patty Carson, my real boxing coach, by the way, Patty Carson goes, well, if an old man beat you up, then he must be a master of Bokator, so you must go learn from him. And so that's what the movie's about, and I go learn from him, and I become a good person. And that was the first full-length Bokator movie that we've done, and of course it hasn't aired yet. I went back to Korea, and I just really didn't want to be there, and I got a call from a guy named John Gray, who runs a sea kayak adventure company out of Phuket. He's American, he's from Hawaii, and he runs this environmentally friendly company, and he describes himself as an environmentalist, or he's very big on protecting the environment, protecting animals. He's vegetarian, and an all-around great guy. He's done a lot of charity work, a lot of things to help develop, help tribal people. He helped tribal people in the Philippines get land rights. He helped set up some satellite companies of his company and then turn them over to local owners for free just to create employment for them and income streams for them. So he's a good guy. And he read about me on the internet, so he contacted me, and we had several very long phone conversations. We decided we really liked each other. And John's in his 60s. And he's huge. He's a massive man. He played professional rugby, and he's like, I don't know how big he is. He's as big as an oak tree, however big that is. And John offered me sponsorship. He said, look, if you come back to Thailand, I want you to come down to Phuket and go on some adventures in my kayaks and write about it. So I did, and I did. And I just quit my job in Korea basically, and I went back there and I did these adventures. And while I was there, he decided that he's associated with a mayor named Mayor Edward Hagedorn in the Philippines, in a city called Puerto Princesa, and which is voted the cleanest and greenest city in the Philippines repeatedly. And Mayor Hagedorn has won so many awards. I think he has won more awards than any Asian politician or any Asian politician in an executive position. Been recognized by the UN, by everybody. And Mayor Hagedorn would fly John over periodically to shoot documentaries about Puerto Princesa. So he told the mayor about me. The mayor liked me, brought me to Puerto Princesa, and I wound up living there for a month, and I started studying arnis with a teacher there. And that was a great experience. His name is Dennis Santos, and he teaches arnis in Puerto Princesa. Arnis is Philippine stick fighting. And I also did a lot of other stories with tribes and things like this, and certain stories that I've been working on for years about displaced Muslim ethnic minorities that are scattered all over Asia. And there's a group on the island called the Bajau, which are the sea gypsies. So I did stories with them and went oyster diving with them, and that was pretty incredible. So I flew back to Thailand, and I was going to take a job, and I did take a job at the top English school in Thailand, and I worked for 3 weeks when I got a call from a really big TV network saying they were doing a show on archaeology. It's an archaeology show, but they try and put a lot of action in it to make it more interesting. They were shooting a show about Angkor Wat. They wanted to do a segment on Bokator, and they wanted me to come back to Cambodia and be a consultant and be in the episode. And originally my part was supposed to be very small because they wanted to feature the Grand Master and the Bokator experts in that. But they expanded my part because of my ability to speak, and I translated for them and demonstrated Bokator techniques and fought and stuff on the show. And it was one of the best experiences of my life. That film crew was so nice. They were the nicest film crew we've ever worked with. We worked with a lot of them now because of the Bokator, and I have on other projects. And those people were so nice. They were respectful of the culture. They wanted to know everything about the history off camera. They just wanted to talk to us all the time, invited us to meals. They were wonderful people. And when that filming was over, I kept in contact with a lot of the film crew, and it turned out that the sound man lived in Bangkok, and his name is Martin, and he's from Switzerland. So we had two things in common. We both speak German, and we both speak Thai. Another interesting point was he was the sound man on a film called Buddha's Lost Children, which was a documentary shot about Pra Kru Ba, my monk, my last Muay Thai monk. And one of the funny things about Kruba is when he answers the phone, he always says, "Salam alaikum," which is kind of a blessing, but he just uses it to say hello, and he has a very distinctive voice and a very funny way of saying it, and I always loved it when he said it, and apparently Martin loved it, and he recorded it, and that was the ringtone on his phone. So while I was talking to Martin, his phone rang, and all of a sudden you hear Kruba saying, "Salam alaikum," and so we had this Kruba connection. So we met again in Bangkok, and it turned out there were other freelancers that were based out of Bangkok, and they would work on things like The Amazing Race Asia, Action Asia, what is it, the Action Race, whatever they do in Asia, and various shows for all the different networks, Discovery, History, whatever. When they would have something in Asia, they would call these freelancers, and we decided that we wanted to make our own film company. They said, "Look, Antonio's got the ideas for stories, and he's already written the stories, and he knows everyone. He's already scouted. We're the technical side. All we need is a producer." And about that time, a guy turned up in Bangkok who formed his own company. His name is Les. Les formed his own production company. He had been with all the major networks in Hollywood, then took a several years assignment as, I believe, the chief producer of American Idol, but the Indian version, which I guess is called Indian Idol, I don't know. And so he had a lot of TV experience, and he came to Bangkok, and he was the one thing we were missing, was a producer. So he had me write a number of proposals, and he loved all my stories and all my proposals, and he was pitching them to the networks and pitching them and pitching them and pitching them, and nothing came of it. And I'll tell you, if you've ever done TV work, it is just, it's just one meeting after another, one pitch after another, and just it never goes anywhere. And when we were shooting Archaeology show in Cambodia, then I stayed and I trained with Master for another month, and they were preparing for the SEA Games, and the SEA Games is the Southeast Asian Games, and it has a lot more martial arts than the Olympics. And one of the things they have is stick fighting. And the SEA Games is actually going to be hosted by the Philippines, so basically you're going to be fighting the Filipinos in their own art. So the Master was really drilling the boys on stick fighting, and because I just come back from the Philippines, it was great because I was able to share with them some of the artists I'd learned already. And the boys went to the Philippines, and they actually won some medals in, I believe, demonstration, and so we were really proud of them. But the big movie just didn't look like it was going to happen. Well, the next thing that happened was I just decided that, I wanted to go back to the Philippines, and I went back to Puerto Princesa. Oh, no, I didn't decide. John Gray called me, that's right. John Gray called me, he was going back to Puerto, so I went back with him. And I continued my training in artists, did more stories on tribal people, went to an island called Coron Island, and did some amazing stories out there. Went wreck diving and things like this on these Japanese warships from World War II. And from there I flew to Manila because Dennis Santos, my artist trainer in the Philippines, hooked me up with his master in Manila, and his name is Master Frank Icocho. He's a master of Kung Tao, and Kung Tao is basically the Filipino grandfather art, the art that includes stick fighting, knife fighting, hand and foot fighting, everything sort of comes under Kung Tao, and he was the master of Kung Tao. So Frank invited me to come stay at his house, Master Frank. I lived with him and his family, and we trained every day in Kung Tao, and that was a wonderful experience. Along the way, I had been pitching Martial Arts Odyssey to everybody, and nobody wanted any part of it. They all wanted to talk about it, but nobody did it, and not even the first episode had been shot. While I was in the Philippines, I met a guy named Alex who owned a company called Estilo de Vida Productions, and he loved the idea of Martial Arts Odyssey, but he had no way of selling it, he had no way of actually producing the show. But he said, "Look, I'm happy to film it and edit it for you, and I'll give it to you on a disc, and what you do with it is up to you."